Today's lesson we're going to be talking about the relationship that angles have with each other. We're going to talk about congruent and vertical angles. We're going to talk about adjacent and non-adjacent angles. Let's start with congruent angles. The word congruent means equal. Angles that have equal measures are congruent. Look here at this example here. Angle ABC is congruent to angle XYZ. You see that they both have a measure of 60 degrees. If you were to take this angle here, we'll call that angle 1, and angle 2, and you took angle 2 and folded it so that it was on top of angle 1, it would be exactly the same. They are mirror images of each other. The symbol for congruent is this. Angle ABC is congruent to angle XYZ. Other relationships that angles might have are vertical angles or opposite angles. Okay? Angles that have a special relationship because of their location with respect to each other. When two lines intersect, if you look at this example here, these two lines intersect, they create vertical angles. Angle 5 and angle 6 are vertical. Angle 7 and angle 8 are vertical. So angles that are vertical, so what? Well, vertical angles are equal. So if we look at angle 5, we know that vertical to angle 5 is angle 6. If angle 5 is equal to 120 degrees, angle 6 is equal to 120 degrees. Because by definition, vertical angles are equal. Angles 7 and 8 are also equal. What is the measure of angles 7 and 8? Think about the last lesson we had about lines and angles, and what would the measure of 7 and 8 be? Whatever it is, it's the same because they're vertical. 5 and 6 are 120. 120 plus 120 is 240. How many degrees are in a circle? If we go all the way around this object, don't we have a circle? In a circle, we have 360 degrees. 360 minus the 240 for our two vertical angles 5 and 6 leaves us with 120 degrees. 120 degrees divided by 2 would leave us with 60 degrees. So angle 7 and angle 8 are 60 degrees. Again, angles that are vertical are equal. In the Genie book, a lot of times you'll have tips, like the one here. Learn the meaning of the terms used in geometry. A simple problem is impossible if you don't know the vocabulary. So make sure that you know the words that are in bold, the ones we talked about: congruent, vertical, adjacent, non-adjacent. Let's talk about adjacent and non-adjacent angles. Using the same illustration right here, we have two lines that intersect, and we have angle 5, 8, 6, and 7. Okay? We know that angle 5 and angle 6 are vertical because they are opposite from each other. And we know angle 7 and 8 are vertical because they are opposite from each other, and they're also equal. But what does adjacent mean? By definition, adjacent means that they share a common vertex and a common ray. Okay, so let's look at angle 6. I want to know what's adjacent to angle 6. Okay, well, what ray does it share on the left side? It shares a ray with angle 7. And on the right side, it shares a ray with angle 8. And they all share the same vertex. So adjacent to angle 6 are angle 7 and angle 8. Not adjacent to angle 6 would be angle 5, because as we mentioned earlier, 5 and 6 are opposite or vertical. Many geometry problems on the GED test require you to apply logical reasoning to find congruent angles. You must use your understanding of the properties of angles to solve geometry problems. So let's take a look at this figure right here. In the figure, angle 1 measures 30 degrees, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and write 30 degrees in there. That gives me a nice visual. Find the measures of angles 2, 3, and 4. All right? Well, I'm going to think about what I know about angles. I know that angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles because they share a vertex and they're opposite from each other. So therefore, if angle 3 is 30 degrees, angle 1 is 30 degrees as well. So I have 30 and 30, which is 60. All the way around the object is 360 degrees. 360 degrees minus the 60 degrees that I already know I have leaves me with 300. So the remaining angles, angles 2 and angle 4, are going to be equal because they are also opposite congruent angles. 300 divided by 2 equals 150. Angle 4 is 150. Angle 2 is 150. Go back and check your work. 150 plus 30 plus 150 plus 30 is 360. Look at this angle 1 and angle 4. 30 and 50 is 180. Angle 1 and angle 4 are supplementary. That's another term that you need to remember. Supplementary is when the sum of two angles equals 180 degrees. Angle 2 and angle 3 are also supplementary because together they equal 180 degrees. Now we're going to use what we just talked about in the last lesson, or just a few minutes ago, about angle relationships. We're going to solve some problems. Starting with number 1, name an angle adjacent to angle 3. Okay, come over to the diagram and locate angle 3. What does adjacent mean? It means they share a common ray and a common vertex. What is on either side of 3? Angle 2 and angle 4. So the answer to number 1 is angle 2 or angle 4. Number 2, name the angle that is vertical to angle 2. Go back up to your diagram, find angle 2, and straight across or opposite from angle 2 is angle 5. Remember that opposite angles are also equal. Name an angle that is vertical to angle 6. Angle 6, opposite of 6 is angle 3. Name an angle that is vertical to angle 1. Opposite angle 1 is angle 4. Next question says, name two angles that are adjacent to angle 1. Locate angle 1. Find your common rays, or your rays. Angle 1 shares a ray with angle 2 and angle 6. Therefore, adjacent to angle 1 are angles 2 and angle 6. Two angles that are adjacent to angle 5, again, here's 5. What sides do they share? Shares a ray with angle 4 and angle 6. So adjacent to angle 5 are angles 6 and angle 4. 7, 8, and 9, we're looking for angles that are congruent. Remember what kind of angles are congruent. Angles that are vertical are congruent. What angle is congruent to angle 5? Well, look at the diagram. What angle is vertical from angle 5? Angle 2. Therefore, angle 2 and angle 5 are congruent. Number 8. What angle is congruent to 4? What angle is opposite angle 4? Opposite angle 4 is angle 1. Number 9. Name the angle congruent to angle 3. What angle is opposite angle 3? Angle 6. So therefore 3 and 6 are congruent. Looking down at the next diagram, they've given us some information here. We're referring to this diagram, questions 10 through 15. Always take a minute and read the information they've given you. Whenever you have a diagram, I would go ahead and mark in my numbers. It helps me give a visual. Find the measure of angle AOB, 30 degrees, or the measure of angle AOB is 30 degrees. Angle AOB is 30 degrees. Okay, now what do I know about opposite angles? I know they're equal. So I'm going to go ahead and write in the opposite angle is also 30 degrees because opposite angles are congruent. Angle EOF is 50 degrees. EOF is 50 degrees. Again, I'm going to find the opposite or vertical angle, which is COB, and that is also 50 degrees. Okay? So look at your diagram. What do you see? I have 30 and 50. That's 80. 30 and 50. That's 80. I have a total of 160 degrees. All the way around my circle is 360. 360 minus 160 is 200. So angles COD and AOF, because they're congruent, divide 200 by 2 and you get 100. So those are two 100-degree angles. Go back around and check and make sure you have a total of 360, 100, 30, 50, 100, 30, 50, 360. Now we can answer all the questions that we have here because we have all of our degrees in the diagram. Question 10. Since EOF is 50, what other angle also has a measure equal to 50? Well, because we already put it in our diagram, EOF and COB. Angle COB is the other angle that is equal to 50. Remember, we can also call angle COB angle BOC. Okay. Number 11. Sum of the measures of AOB, BOC, and COD is 180. What is the measure of COD? COD, come back up to our diagram. COD is 100 degrees. Number 12. What is the measure of AOF? Hint, you already found the measure of a vertical angle AOF. We did. We already put it in the diagram. Vertical to AOF is, vertical COD is AOF, which was 100 degrees. Number 13, what is the sum of the measures of DOE and EOF? DOE is 30, EOF is 50, 30 and 50 is 80. Number 14, what is the measure of the reflex angle for EOF? We remember what is a reflex angle. I'm going to clean this up so we can look at that reflex angle. A reflex angle is an angle that is more than 180 but less than 360. So we're looking for a number greater than 180 but less than 360. Here is angle EOF. We know that EOF is equal to 50. That is the measure of EOF. The reflex angle EOF is everything else. Imagine a 360-degree circle. Take out 50 degrees, and what you have remaining is 310 degrees. So the measure of EOF is 310 degrees. Okay, our last question for the diagram is question 15. Which two angles are supplementary to DOF? Okay, so we got a clue. We're looking for two angles, and we need to know what supplementary means. You remember supplementary means that you have two angles that are equal to 180 degrees. DOF is DOF. DOF includes two angles that we measured out earlier, which was this 50-degree angle EOF and the vertical angle, the AOB, which was 30 degrees. So angle DOF is equal to 80 degrees. So if we're looking to two angles that would make that supplementary, we know that it has to equal 180 degrees. 180 degrees minus 80 is 100. So we're looking for two 100-degree angles, which are COD and AOF. COD was 100 and AOF was 100. So those are your two supplementary angles. Angles AOF and angles COD. Question 16 gives us a little information. There's no diagram, but read the information. Angle Q is congruent to its vertical angle R. Which of the following must be true? So based on that information, we only know that angle Q is congruent to angle R. So which of these statements could be true? Angle Q and R are complementary angles. Q and R are acute angles. Q and R are obtuse angles. Q and R are adjacent angles, or Q and R have equal measures. The only thing that we know is angle Q is equal or congruent to angle R. Therefore, the correct answer is answer 5. Q and R have equal measures. That is the only thing that we know based on the information that is presented to us. Always base your answer on what is presented to you, not making any assumptions or reading more into the problem that is there. 17. The measure of 4 is 100 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and write that in. That might help me answer this question. So if angle 4 is equal to 100 degrees, I know that angle 2 is equal to 100 degrees. And angle 1 and 3 are going to be 80 degrees. Because those two are vertical. Now I can look at the choices. Number 1, angles 4 and 2 are complementary. Complementary means that you have two angles that equal 90 degrees. Look at the diagram. Do you see any 90-degree angles? Nope. Number 2, the measure of angle 2 is equal to 100 degrees. Well, yes, that's true because angle 4 and 2 are vertical. Let's go ahead and check the others just to make sure we're right. Number 3, measure of angle 1 is 100. Nope. Measure of angle 1 is 80. Number 4, the measure of angle 1 plus angle 3 is 100. 1 and 3 is 80 plus 80, which is 160. Nope. Number 5, 4 and 2 are equal to 180. Nope. 4 and 2 are equal to 200. The correct answer is 2. Always take your time to go through each choice before you make a decision. Before we end our lesson, we're going to just go back and review congruent angles. Congruent means equal. The sign for congruent is this. If angles are vertical, vertical angles are congruent. 7 and 8 are congruent. 5 and 6 are congruent. Angles can be adjacent or non-adjacent. Adjacent angles share a side, share a vertex, and share a ray. Vertical adjacent angles in this diagram. What angle is adjacent to 3? Angle 4 and angle 2, because they share 3 shares a side with 4 and shares a side with 2. Not adjacent to angle 3 is angle 1.